You're listening to Ask Dr. Jake. My name is Dr. Jake Tucker, owner and founder of Good Life Family Chiropractic. And today we are coming to you with another episode of Hope, Health, and Wholeness. And what I wanted to focus on for you guys today is an issue that so many people have here in the US, especially as they start to age. And that's the issue of carpal tunnel. And I bring this up actually at request of my wife. And when my wife asks Dr. Jake something, that means that it's definitely something that needs to be addressed publicly as well. But before we get into carpal tunnel and what you can do to naturally prevent or reverse carpal tunnel without having to go through an expensive surgery, is start off by going to our website, goodlifefamilychiropractic.com. You can request to join the email newsletter. You can also look at our contact information. If you're requesting an appointment from there, just when we call you to confirm that appointment time, definitely let us know that you heard us on the radio. Now, we're also offering a discount today. For the first 5 callers, get a 50% discount off of any exam, x-rays, anything. At most, with that discount, you'd be spending $65 in our office. So that is fantastic for each of you. But what I want to do today is I wanted to talk about carpal tunnel. And it's something that I see fairly often in my office. Even if patients are coming in for different issues, very often they'll say, is there anything you can do about my hand? And what carpal tunnel is it's a disruption of the median nerve through the anatomical location known as the carpal tunnel. And that is here, right in the middle of your wrist. And what happens is you get some compression in there and you start to get this sensation. It can be a painful sensation. It can be a numb sensation. It can be even some fine motor loss of control in the distal part of your hand. And usually that comes not just because this carpal tunnel has gotten enclosed from the tissues around it, but because of something called double crush syndrome. So the median nerve actually comes off of the brachial plexus, which starts up here in the neck, which is why I have a picture over here to the side of the cervical spine. Because in a healthy cervical spine, you can stomp on this wrist, you can stab this wrist, you can do all sorts of things to this wrist. It takes an incredible amount of damage to disrupt the median nerve through the carpal tunnel. But if you do not have this curve, what's called the arc of life in your neck, then it will absolutely start to affect that. So if you're listening on radio this morning, just know that I've got this live stream broadcasting at the same time on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Ask Dr. Jake. If you want to go back later and look at it, that resource will stay available for you. It's also available on the YouTube channel, Dr. Jake Tucker. But what you're looking at when you're looking at it from the side is this smooth 45-degree curve. Every single one of those vertebrae stacking up between 6 and 7 degrees apart from one another. And that's called the arc of life. This isn't a chiropractic term. This is a neurology term. And what these researchers found out, these neurology researchers studied, was that when you have this curve, it takes tension off of the spinal cord. It takes tension off of the brainstem. And you can see the cadaver over to the far side that shows what the spinal cord looks like inside of a 45-degree curve. But unfortunately, what happens is, as Americans, we start to lose this curve because of our time on cell phones, and because of our time on laptop computers, because of our time, looking down at small children. We retrain that curve to lose. It loses its proper posture and position just because of what we do every single day. The worst of which I would say is probably our smartphones. I've seen so many children who have these smartphones that have completely lost this curve in their neck. In fact, the curve's going the opposite direction. That introduces even just a 50% loss of this normal curvature over to the side here. A loss of curve by 50% decreases your life expectancy by as much as 20 years. It introduces a pathological tension to the spinal cord that kills the cells on the front side of the spinal cord. And those are very important cells. Those are called anterior horn cells. Those are responsible for so much. And this curve here has been linked with the loss of this curve, with just about every neurologically degenerative condition, if you have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or dementia or ALS or any of those things that we point to as, we just don't know what causes this, or this started years ago. Oftentimes what I see is that this curve is completely gone, or certain parts of this curve are completely distorted to the point where there was obviously some sort of ligament damage that occurred in there. And so if you're dealing with some of these issues, especially carpal tunnel, what happens is this center section of the curve, so you can count the vertebra down from the top. Underneath the skull, there's a flat bone called the atlas. Atlas holds the weight of your skull up on its shoulders, just like in Greek mythology. Then there's axis, which is C2, which is responsible for most of the rotation in your neck. And then you get down to C3, 4, 5, and 6 there are responsible for most of the weight of the curve. They hold the brunt of it. And when you lose that curve in the center of the neck, and this is the most common place for degenerative arthritis to start to form, it actually will start to create a compression of those nerve roots. Now, those nerve roots, you may not necessarily feel anything from. And the reason why is this: if you're looking with me here on Facebook or on YouTube, you can actually see what a nerve root cross section looks like. And you can see that the bulk of this nerve is made up of fibers that control both motor function and autonomic function. Autonomic function basically means the organ function, the vessels, the blood vessels, those things. So in order to feel a sensation coming through the neck from pressure on a nerve in the neck, you actually have to get lucky enough to brush up against that bottom section down there over at the bottom. And what that does is that controls sensation. That's about 8 to 10% of any given nerve root in your body is responsible for sensation. So you have to get incredibly lucky for a neck problem to show up as carpal tunnel, unless there's a different area in that nerve pathway that is also compressed, and that's called double crush. Now that actually creates a feedback loop that starts to create those symptoms of carpal tunnel. And so this is one of the big things that we look at. So, if you're dealing with carpal tunnel, I strongly encourage you to pick up the phone today and call our office, 531-289-7100, and we'll get to the root cause of this. We're not just going to go in and give you medication to cover up the symptom, and we're not just going to cut open the tissue around the carpal tunnel and hope that it opens up and takes enough pressure off for this to heal. There's a large number of these surgeries actually fail. So we don't want that for you. We want to actually get to the root cause of this and help you fix the cause of the problem. And it very often involves fixing this arc of life. So if you have not had your arc of life looked at, then call our office, 531-289-7100, and we'll evaluate your entire spine if you're one of our first 5 callers today for just $65. It's a 50% discount off of our normal exam and x-ray fee. And what that gets you is a full physical examination. We'll start with a consultation and see exactly what's going on. From there, we'll drop in and we'll actually start looking at the different parts of the spine, looking at your range of motion, seeing if there's arthritis in the spine, any restriction one way or the other based off of the patterns and habits and behaviors that we have on a daily basis. Then we'll look at how well your posture is. Just, is your head sitting over top of your shoulders, or has it started to drift forward? Are you starting to lose some of the integrity of the posture of your spine? Is your head directly over top of your shoulders and over top of your hips? Likewise, you have an offset. Are you building up a scoliosis in your neck? That could also be one of those things that's pulling you out of alignment, putting pressure on the median nerve and on this brachial plexus as it exits out of the neck. And then, two, we'll also check to see if I can feel anything that's out of position. Put my hands on you and actually use, what's actually more accurate than my eyes to assess where the spine's at. And then from there, we're going to go and we're going to do a digital nerve scan. And that digital nerve scan, we use surface electromyography. It's the same level of testing that you would be getting at a neurologist office. It'll tell us if the sympathetic branches of your nervous system if they're flaring up and if they're responding to stress from some reason or another coming from inside your spine. So if we see that enough distress in that exam, we'll be going back and we'll be taking those x-rays. Now, if that exam was being done by a neurologist, or if that exam was being done in an imaging center, you'd be talking about thousands of dollars. But with the same level, if not better training in correction of these cases, I'm going to be giving you this exam for just $65 if you call right now. So again, that number 531-289 7100. And you can call now. We're standing by to talk with you. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, either on our air or off air. We can definitely arrange those questions for you. But one of the things that you can do when you're looking at your spine, and so often I have to direct my patients with this. I have a pregnant mom that's dealing with carpal tunnel right now, but almost to a person, they sleep with their hands together, folded up either in prayer or reverse prayer pose. And this is actually the test that we do orthopedically to confirm or rule out carpal tunnel, is that pressure, that pressing your hands together, or pushing the palms of your, or the palms of your hands together, or the back of your hands together while you sleep. And it's something that you should pay attention to, because when I started talking to my mother-in-law about this, because she was dealing with carpal tunnel, I asked her how she was sleeping, and she was basically in that prayer pose or reverse prayer pose every single night. And so I had her start to address it. In some patients, I'll actually have them put on the carpal tunnel wrist braces while they sleep, so that they're not putting their wrists in that position. And what we're finding is that just that position, it actually brings the lunate, which is the bone in the middle of your carpal tunnel, forward and compresses the carpal tunnel from the backside. So this is not a connective tissue on the front side problem. It's that lunate has dislodged from its normal alignment and shoved itself into the pathway of that median nerve down there. And then you combine that with a neck problem, and you end up with the symptoms of carpal tunnel. And so I start off by working with the neck and working with the hands to start moving that back in the right direction. We start doing some exercises to strengthen the wrists, and we also pay attention to what the hands are doing at night. We address the lifestyle factors that are creating this, everything from sleep to computer position to standing desks to exercise habits, how you're putting your hands in stress at work. All of this matters if we're going to get correction of this case. If all we want to do is cut out tissue that God gave us and take medication to cover up the symptoms, there's plenty of those options out there. But if you truly want to be healthier, I encourage picking up the phone and calling our office now, 531-289-7100. And remember, this is about way more than just carpal tunnel. The same nerves that control, that branch out and create the median nerve, those nerve roots also form branches that go out to the thyroid. I see a high correlation in subclinical thyroid issues with the carpal tunnel going on at the same time. I see even lower in the neck, those branches go out to the heart. I see a lot of people with high blood pressure. They're also dealing with carpal tunnel. The stress levels through the charts, breathing issues correlated as well. So if you're looking for health today, I suggest picking up the phone, calling our office at 531-289-7100. Thanks for tuning in for another episode today, guys, of Ask Dr. Jake. I'll see you again tomorrow.